And the go, no-go poll for the return-powered flyby is now underway. And the team here in Mission Control Houston did poll go for today's return-powered flyby burn. That burn will take place 23 minutes from now. And with the go from the team here in Mission Control Houston for the return-powered flyby burn, we're now just counting down the minutes until the start of that burn. Again, 22 minutes away from today's burn. This burn will last 3 minutes and 27 seconds. But just prior to the burn, we will lose signal with the Orion spacecraft. That loss of signal is anticipated in 19 minutes from now. The reason we do lose communication with the spacecraft is because it will be flying directly behind the moon, and the moon is blocking the signal to the deep space network. However, once the spacecraft travels back to the other side of the moon, we do expect to regain communications with the vehicle at that time. Orion is now only 687 miles away from the moon. At closest approach today, Orion will be just 80 miles above the lunar surface. Now just 20 minutes away from today's return-powered flyby. This burn will commit Orion to a trajectory to head back to planet Earth after its 20-day mission so far. By the time Orion splashes down in the Pacific Ocean, it will have been in space for 25.5 days. During its journey, Orion has broken the record for longest distance traveled by a human-rated spacecraft meant to return back to Earth. On November 28th, Orion was 268,563 miles away from planet Earth. Right now, Orion is 239,364 miles away from Earth, but only 570 miles away from the Moon. At our closest approach today, Orion will be just 80 miles above the surface. Our next set of events will take place in rapid succession. First, we will lose signal with the Orion spacecraft as it travels behind the moon. That loss of signal will be just 15 minutes from now. Then 3 minutes after we lose signal with Orion, the return-powered flyby burn, or RPF, will take place. This burn will last 3 minutes and 27 seconds and will be completed with the orbital maneuvering system, or OMS engine, which you see there on your screen to the left on the European service module. It's the largest engine on Orion. And today's 3 minute and 27 second burn will be the longest burn that the OMS engine will have completed on the mission so far. And we're continuing to get some great views of the lunar surface as we fly just 500 miles overhead. This view coming from one of the solar array wings, or SAW cameras, as it gets into the proper position for today's burn. Coincidentally, 8 years ago to the day was the launch of the Exploration Flight Test 1, or EFT-1. This was the first test flight of the crew module portion of the Orion multi-purpose crew vehicle. This was an uncrewed test flight that orbited the Earth 2 times before splashing down. Now, 8 years later, Orion is about to fly behind the moon. We're 15 minutes away from today's burn. We're now 13 minutes away from today's return-powered flyby burn. Orion is 365 miles above the lunar surface, traveling at a speed of 4,963 miles per hour. Just 10 minutes from now, we do anticipate losing signal with Orion as it begins its trip around the backside of the moon. On the bottom of your screen in the left there, you can see the solar array as it begins to move into place. You're also looking at the Orion capsule itself there, taking up the majority of your screen. You can see the kind of silver coloring of the capsule. This is the portion that when we have a crew on board as part of Artemis 2 that they will be living and working in during their trip to the moon and beyond. And in the top left of your screen there, you can see the moon as Orion glides over it, again 335 miles above the surface. But at the closest approach during today's return-powered flyby burn, Orion will be just 80 miles above the lunar surface. We are hearing that the solar arrays are configured for today's burn. Orion is now moving to the proper burn attitude. We're now 10 minutes and 30 seconds away from the start of today's 3-minute and 27-second burn. And we expect to lose signal with Orion in 8 minutes. Today's return-powered flyby burn sets us up on a trajectory to splashdown off the coast of California just a few days from now on December 11th. And you were seeing some thruster firings there as Orion maneuvers to the proper attitude for today's burn. Now less than 6 minutes, 30 seconds until we lose signal with Orion. The burn will start in 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Orion is currently 253 miles above the lunar surface. Today's 3-minute and 27-second burn will take place with the Orbital Maneuvering System, or OMS engine. That's the largest engine on the European service module. Today's burn will change the velocity of the spacecraft by 960 feet per second during its 3-minute, 27-second burn. Closing in on 5 minutes away from our anticipated loss of signal with Orion. We will not have signal with Orion because the moon will be blocking out the signal to the Deep Space Network. However, when we swing back around on the other side of the moon, we do anticipate to regain those communications. And we are hearing that Orion is in the proper burn attitude. 6 minutes and 40 seconds away from the start of today's 3-minute, 27-second burn. Just 4 minutes until today's loss of signal. As you can see from this telemetry-driven animation, Orion is now 202 miles away from the lunar surface. And you're looking at a live view inside the White Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. NASA Flight Director Judd Freeling is leading the team on console at this hour. We were tracking a loss of signal about 2 minutes and 40 seconds from now, but we are hearing that we did get that loss of signal a little earlier than expected, but that is to be anticipated from time to time. So now the next major milestone that we'll look ahead towards is the return-powered flyby burn less than 5 minutes from now. While we are traveling behind the moon, we do not have signal with the spacecraft because the moon is blocking the connection to the Deep Space Network. We anticipate that loss of signal to last about 30 minutes. And our counterparts here in this shot here in the European Space Agency Control Center in Noordwijk in the Netherlands The European Space Agency's contribution to Artemis is, of course, the European Service Module, where the Orbital Maneuvering System, or OMS, engine is located. That's the engine that will be used for today's 3-minute and 27-second burn to propel us around the backside of the moon and commit us to a trajectory back to Earth ahead of a splashdown on December 11th. We're now less than 3 minutes away from the start of that 3-minute, 27-second burn. Right now, we do not have signal with the Orion spacecraft. That is expected as the vehicle is traveling behind the moon. This loss of signal will last about 30 minutes. And as Orion comes back around the other side of the moon, we will be able to regain communications with the vehicle. Now less than 2 minutes from today's return-powered flyby burn. And you do see the team here in Mission Control stand up and stretch their legs right now. Oftentimes they'll use this time to catch a quick break while the vehicle is in the loss of signal period. Again, today's loss of signal is expected to be about 30 minutes in length. One minute until the start of today's return-powered flyby burn. "30 seconds until the start of today's 3-minute, 27-second long burn, committing Orion to a return home." "15 seconds until burn start." And we do expect the burn to be underway. Again, this is a 3-minute, 27-second long burn. Because Orion is behind the moon and we do not have signal with the vehicle, we will not be able to confirm that the burn has began or the results of that burn until we come back around to the other side and regain communications on the Deep Space Network.